Wife left for an upgrade, influenced by her free spirit sister, but now her upgrade dumped her and her sister, kicked her out of her house, and she wants back. Hey everyone! I didn't think I'd be writing something like this, but it's been sitting heavy on me since last night. Maybe it'll help to get it out. If nothing else, I need to put it somewhere because my head's spinning. So I'm 33 male, been married to Kate, 32 female for 5 years. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always thought we had a solid thing going. We had a kid 3 years ago. He wasn't planned, but he wasn't unwanted either. When Kate found out she was pregnant, we were both kind of shocked. She'd been on birth control for years. We always said we weren't ready financially. But when it happened, we talked and agreed we'd keep him and figure it out. At the time, she was working at a local diner, pulling waitress shifts for decent tips, but it still didn't match what I brought in from construction. I've been working on job sites since I was a teenager, and it's hard work, long hours, beat up body, but it pays okay. Enough to keep us afloat, but not exactly rolling in it. So we were living in a small apartment, scraping by but managing. Once we decided to keep the baby, everything had to change fast. We needed space, somewhere safer and more long-term, so we started house hunting. She found a place she loved, 2 beds, 2 baths, bigger than what we needed honestly, but she called it her dream house. I thought it was too much. The price tag made me sick to my stomach, but she was convinced it was for our family and that we'd grow into it. I gave in, signed the mortgage, and picked up as many extra shifts as I could get. Right after that, she quit her job to focus on getting ready for the baby. That part we both agreed on. She'd stay home, I'd cover the bills. Made sense at the time. I don't regret supporting that decision, but that's when I really started feeling the weight of everything. I was working 6, sometimes 7 days a week, 10 to 12-hour shifts, trying to make sure we could pay the mortgage, stock up on baby supplies, and still afford groceries and power. When the baby came, I won't lie, it was rough. I love my kid more than anything, but that first year was brutal. Kate was always exhausted, and I mean always. I'd come home to a crying baby, a messy house, and a wife who hadn't eaten anything all day. I'd try to jump in where I could, change diapers, bottle feed, rock him when she needed a break, but I drew the line at waking up in the middle of the night. I know that's a sore spot for a lot of people, but hear me out. I operate heavy machinery. I climb ladders, lift concrete, work around rebar. If I show up to work sleep-deprived, I'm not just risking my life, I'm risking someone else's. So yeah, I told her I needed to sleep through the night, and she'd have to do the nighttime stuff. That caused arguments. She said I wasn't helping enough. I said I was doing what I could without getting myself or someone else hurt. That became the theme of our marriage. I'm doing what I can. Every time we fought, that was my line. She'd say I wasn't around enough, didn't help enough, wasn't supportive enough. I'd point at the house, the lights still on, the fridge full, and say, "This didn't just fall out of the sky, Kate." But I kept trying. I did. I'd come home sore and tired, but still tried to be present. Some nights, I'd sit there watching our son sleep and wonder if he'd even remember me at this rate. It's like I was becoming a background character in my own house. Eventually, things calmed down a bit. The kids started sleeping better. I started to think maybe we were getting through the worst of it. Like maybe we could start acting like husband and wife again, not just business partners trying to keep the lights on. About a month after the baby came, Kate brought up her sister. Said she was thinking of asking Jen to come over a few days a week to help out, hold the baby, bring food, give her a break so she could nap or take a shower. I thought it sounded like a great idea. I figured both of them could use the company, and maybe Kate could get a little more sleep. I even said, "Yeah, that's smart. Might help you both breathe a little." So Jen started coming by during the day. I'd see her maybe once or twice a week in the evenings if she stuck around. She was helping out, holding the baby, folding laundry, sometimes even cooking. Nothing seemed weird at the time. I appreciated the help, honestly. I thought we were all just doing our part. A few weeks go by, and I notice Kate's different. I don't even know how to explain it. Just colder, I guess. More like she stopped looking at me the same. The small things started to vanish. No more random texts during the day. No, "How was your day?" when I walked in. No more casual affection either. I'd go to hug her, and it felt like hugging a mannequin. I told myself I was imagining it, that she was probably still recovering. New moms go through it. Lack of sleep, hormonal shifts, all that. So I didn't bring it up. Instead, I just tried to be more helpful. I started coming home on time more, even if it meant turning down extra shifts. I'd swing by the grocery store after work, pick up stuff I knew she liked. I'd offer to watch the baby while she took a bath, even though I was running on fumes myself. She didn't really react to any of it. like it didn't register. At first, I figured I just needed to give it time. Let her get used to being a mom. Let things settle. But then she started making those comments. Stuff like, must be nice to just leave the house every day and not have to deal with screaming. Or, you get to be a person. I'm just stuck being someone's mom. I tried to take it as her venting, but after a while it stopped feeling like venting and started sounding more like she resented me, which didn't make sense to me. I wasn't off playing video games or sitting on the couch. I was out there breaking my back every day to make sure we didn't drown in bills. I said that to her once, not even in a mean way, just trying to explain. Her response, "You think paying for things makes you some kind of hero?" She said it flat, like it was just a fact. Like everything I'd done meant nothing. I didn't answer. I just took the baby and rocked him while she walked off to shower. That kind of thing kept happening, one little jab at a time. She started criticizing the way I did stuff. "You're not folding that right. He doesn't like when you bounce him like that. That's not how you do bottles." I didn't even know there was a wrong way to hold your own kid until she started correcting me every time I touched him. I still kept my mouth shut. Figured maybe I was doing it wrong. I didn't grow up with a great example of a dad. Mine walked out when I was 12. I was winging it. But I was trying. What bugged me most was the silence. Kate started talking less and less. I'd come home, ask how her day was, and get a fine or same. No follow-up. No interest in my day either. I felt like a roommate who just happened to be paying the mortgage. At night, she started going to bed earlier. No more watching shows together, or late night laughing about dumb stuff. She'd say she was tired and go to the bedroom, and I'd stay out on the couch watching YouTube or nodding off halfway through a game. I tried bringing it up once, just casually. Said something like, "Hey, you've been quiet lately. Everything good?" She shrugged and said, "What is there to talk about? It's just the same thing every day." I didn't know how to respond to that. I knew what she meant. We were both stuck in this cycle of wake, feed, work, sleep, repeat. But hearing her say it like that felt off, like she'd already checked out but didn't want to say it. Still, I held on. I kept thinking things would get better once the baby got older, once he started sleeping through the night, once we had a routine again. I thought time would fix what was breaking, when really, time was just showing me how broken things were already becoming. Then, she started dropping phrases that felt foreign, not her voice. "I'm more than just a mom and wife. Zrenia, I need space to figure out who I am. Zrenia, being home all day isn't living, it's surviving." I knew those weren't just random thoughts. Someone was feeding them to her. But I didn't ask or accuse. I just took it in and kept my mouth shut. She brought up work again, this time like a demand. "I want to go back," she said. "I can't sit around here anymore playing house." "All right," I said. "If it's what you want, we'll make it work." She just nodded like she was informing me, not including me. That's what stung. The way I wasn't her partner in anything anymore. Just the guy paying the bills while she made new plans. She moved the crib to the guest room without telling me. Said she needed better sleep. I offered to help move things, and she just said, "I've got it," like I was intruding. She started watching the baby less when I got home, just handed him off and disappeared into the bedroom for hours. And when I tried to talk, it was like hitting a wall. "You don't listen, Zrenia. I don't want to argue. Logically, I just want to feel like myself again. All vague stuff, and all one-sided." I'd start to say how I felt and she'd walk away or zone out mid-sentence. I thought maybe I was just being sensitive. Maybe we were both burnt out. But then I noticed how fast she changed when her sister was around. If Jen was there when I got home, the whole energy shifted. They'd be laughing, chatting, full of life. But the second I walked in, silence. Cold. Kate would barely make eye contact. Jen would glance at me like I'd interrupted something important. I started feeling like a guest in my own house. They weren't hiding anything, at least not openly, but something was being said behind closed doors. I could feel it. Kate's opinions weren't hers anymore. Her complaints weren't new. Her attitude wasn't familiar. It's hard to explain what it's like watching your wife slowly become someone else. Not overnight, not because of one big thing, just little shifts stacking up until one day you look across the dinner table and realize the person sitting there isn't talking to you. They're just filling space. And I still had no clue how far it would go. Then Kate got hired at this retail store across town. Cashier job, decent hours. I figured fine. It'd give her something to do outside the house, and maybe she'd stop acting like being home with the baby was some prison sentence. Told her congrats, and that we'd need to figure out childcare. She said she already had that handled. Found some college girl off a community board who could come by during the day. $10 an hour, 5 hours a day. Just told me that's what was happening. That was becoming her thing now. telling me how things were going to be. Not discussing, not planning, just dropping announcements. After a week at the job, her entire attitude shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't pulling my weight anymore. She started making snide remarks. One night after putting our son to bed, I sat down with her and said we needed to talk. Told her I was happy she was working again, but things were off. Told her she'd been different lately. Short, distant, and treating me like I was just in the way. I didn't accuse her of anything. I just laid it out. She crossed her arms, tilted her head like I was some clueless asshole, and said, "Maybe you just can't handle me growing." That was it for me. I leaned forward and said, "Grow all you want, but don't act like I'm the dirt you grew out of. I've carried this whole house, this whole family for years without complaining. You don't get to come home after 5 shifts and act like you've reached enlightenment." She didn't answer, just stood up and walked away like she was done with the conversation. That's when I knew. It wasn't just about working or something like that. She was trying to become someone else entirely, and she was starting to believe her own hype. I'm not against growth. I'm not against independence. But when someone uses it as a reason to look down on the person who held them up, that's not growth. That's arrogance. And yeah, I started watching everything closer after that. The way she started hiding her phone when I walked into the room. The way she laughed louder at her texts than she ever laughed at anything I said. The way she started wearing more makeup, more perfume, even though she said her job was a soul-sucking. One night it was late, maybe past midnight. I was in bed half asleep, and she was in the bathroom doing God knows what for 30 minutes. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand next to me. I wouldn't have even looked if it wasn't for the fact that the screen lit up right in my face. I saw the name first, Jen, and even though I know I shouldn't have looked, but something in me let me do it. I saw the message. It's time you upgraded. You've wasted enough of your life playing house with a guy you settled for. Next one right after. You deserve more than some tired construction worker. You could have had someone real from the start. Turns out the guy Kate had been seeing wasn't some new coworker. I found out from the text Jen introduced them. Yeah, she set it up. Said he was refreshing, in touch with his emotions, and on her wavelength. Said they should all get lunch, just the 3 of them. Played it off like a casual meetup, just catching up. But it was matchmaking with a side of manipulation. Kate said, "He's interesting." That was the first time she'd sounded excited about anything in months. And now it all made sense. Jen said something like, "He gets it, right?" Like I didn't. Like Kate needed someone new to mirror whatever fake version of herself she was trying on that week. And apparently that's all it took. One staged lunch, a few text messages, a little laugh at my expense, and Kate was suddenly ready to toss our whole life in the garbage. That woke me all the way up. I sat up, stared at the screen. I wasn't even angry at first. Just numb. I just kept reading it over and over. Settled. Wasted. Upgrade. Like I was a used car she was tired of driving around in public. Then she walked back in. She saw me holding the phone and froze. Dead in her tracks. Just that look like she knew it was over. "You went through my phone?" she asked. I said, "No." "Your phone lit up." I saw the message. She walked over slowly and grabbed it out of my hand. "You had no right." I said, "That's what you're worried about right now? Privacy? Not the fact that your sister is telling you to leave your husband and you didn't shut her down?" So I kept going. "You've been talking to another guy behind my back while I work 60 hours a week to pay off a house you picked out?" Then she finally said, "You don't make me feel like a woman anymore." I blinked. What does that even mean? It means I feel invisible? Like I'm just the maid, the mom, the background noise? And instead of talking to me about it, you start flirting with random guys and telling them our marriage is trash? She said, "It's not random. He sees me." I said, "So you cheat because some guy sent you a few flirty texts and made you feel sparkly inside?" Her voice got louder. "It's not just the texts. It's everything. You never check in on me. You never ask how I feel. You come home, eat, sit on the couch, and act like that's enough." I lost it a little there. I said, "You want to talk about enough? I haven't slept in years. I work until my hands bleed so you can stay in this house and play homemaker with your sister whispering in your ear all day." She fired back with, "Don't bring Jen into this. She's the only one who actually listens to me." Of course. Of course it was Jen. I should have known from the beginning. I said, "Jen doesn't even like her own life. She bounces from loser to loser, and now she's playing relationship coach? You think that's who's got your best interest at heart?" "She cares about me," Kate snapped. "She wants better for me." I just stared at her and said, "If this is what better looks like, I want no part of it." I told her we were done. I said I'd be talking to a lawyer, and if she wanted to start a new life with her upgrade, she better go do it somewhere else. She left that night. took our son, and went to Jen's. And just like that, it wasn't our house anymore. It was mine. A few days later, I got a knock on the door. It was CPS. Apparently, someone had reported that I was leaving our son home alone while I worked. I looked the caseworker dead in the eye and said, "Let me guess. Anonymous report?" She gave a slow nod. Only two people knew my schedule down to the hour: Kate and Jen. It didn't take a genius to connect the dots, but they underestimated how prepared I was. I handed over everything: sitter logs, time-stamped photos, text confirmations, even door camera footage. The sitter vouched for me on record. Case closed before it even opened. But that moment right there, that's when I knew just how low they were willing to go. I spent the next few days making calls, writing things down, saving screenshots, backing everything up. I was done being the one trying to fix something she'd already thrown in the trash. I started thinking back to all the weird comments Jen made over the years. Stuff like, "Must be nice to have a man who has your back," or "You're lucky at least he pays bills." Back then, I thought she was just venting about her own train wreck love life, but now I see it for what it really was: bitterness. Jen didn't want Kate to grow. She wanted Kate miserable, just like her. She couldn't stand the idea that her younger sister got the house, the husband, the stability. So she planted seeds until Kate couldn't even tell where her own thoughts ended, and Jen's resentment began. The next morning, I was on the phone with my lawyer. We were going over custody stuff, how to handle the house, what to expect with court timelines. Just business talk. Then came the knock. Well, not really a knock. More like a bang. I looked through the window, and there they were, Kate and her sister Jen, standing on my front porch like they had an eviction notice for me. I didn't say anything to my lawyer, just kept him on the line with my earbuds in. Opened the door. Kate pushed in first like it was still her house. Jen followed right behind her, already flaring up. "You really think you're gonna steal her child and play victim after all the crap you put her through?" Jen snapped. I didn't answer, just stepped back and let them fill the room with whatever mess they were carrying. Kate crossed her arms and said, "You've always hated that I had a voice, that I had opinions. Now I finally stand up for myself and you're trying to punish me for it." Jen chimed in again, louder this time. "You couldn't handle a strong woman, so you ran crying to a lawyer, like some little man who got his feelings hurt." I kept quiet, lawyer still on the line, listening to every word. "You controlled everything," Jen kept going. "The money, the house, the baby. You made her feel like a prisoner." Kate nodded. "I lost myself in this marriage." "You mean the marriage you walked away from after sending texts behind my back and laughing with some guy while I was working 60-hour weeks?" I asked. "That marriage?" Jen snapped. "You only ever saw her as a live-in nanny and cook. You're the reason she had to find love somewhere else." I had to pause there because it was laughable. I just looked at them both and said, "Is this the script for today? The big empowerment speech? Because none of this changes the facts." Kate raised her voice. "You're pathetic. You're bitter because I grew and you couldn't." I leaned against the wall, took a sip of my coffee. Then Jen scoffed hard. "You think you're a real man? Real men don't need lawyers to fight their battles." I didn't take the bait, lawyer still on the line, and I knew he was catching every word. I didn't owe them a meltdown. Instead, I said, "You want real? Here's real. You came to my house to call me names because I finally stopped putting up with disrespect. You want to talk about strong women? Strong women don't sneak around with other men and blame their husbands for it. And they definitely don't drag their unstable sister into their marriage like a sidekick with a grudge." Jen's face twisted. "Unstable? Your friends talks to you like you're a dog, Jen. And instead of fixing that, you came here to project your own mess into mine. That's not strong. That's sad." Kate started to say something, but I cut her off. "And you, Kate, you cheated. You chose that. And instead of owning it, you're standing in my living room trying to make me look like I'm the villain in your personal coming-of-age story." I stepped closer. "I gave everything to this family. My time, my money, my body, my sleep, and you threw it away for compliments and attention. If that's the version of growth you're proud of, then go ahead. Keep growing, just not here." They were quiet now, still standing, but their confidence deflated a bit. I ended it with, "You can leave now. And next time you want to scream about feminism, maybe don't do it in the house that was built on my back while you were planning your exit." So after everything that went down, the cheating, the phone messages, the garbage Kate and Jen pulled at my front door, I wasn't playing nice anymore. I stopped waiting for apologies. I stopped hoping she'd own it. I went straight into dad mode and handled what mattered most: my kid. I wasn't dragging my son through chaos because his mom wanted to find herself. I called my lawyer, laid everything on the table, and said, I want full custody, not out of revenge, out of survival. He asked for every detail, so I gave it to him. Screenshots of her texts with Jen, the one telling her to upgrade and calling me a waste of time. The stuff about her feeling trapped and done pretending. I handed him phone logs, receipts, a calendar showing all the overnights, feedings, doctor visits, daycare pickups I handled. Everything I did, everything she skipped. I even had pictures of her dropping our kid off with Jen while she went for a walk that lasted 3 hours. My lawyer said, "This will speak louder than anything she'll say in court." When the hearing day came, I wasn't nervous. I was tired. Tired of being treated like some placeholder. Tired of people acting like being a quiet, working dad made me less involved. My lawyer had all the files, all the records. We were ready. Kate showed up looking like she was going to a candlelight yoga class. White blouse, calm face, like she was trying to sell this peaceful, grounded version of herself. Problem was, the court doesn't buy branding. They buy consistency, and she had none. Her lawyer tried to spin the whole thing. Said Kate felt isolated, that she was pressured into domestic duties, and mentally manipulated by a workaholic husband. Basically tried to make me sound like some caveman who ignored her until she broke. But my lawyer pulled out the receipts, laid them out one by one. Months of me buying groceries, diapers, paying rent solo, photos of me taking care of our son while she was finding herself on walks with another man. The screenshot of Jen telling her I was a downgrade and her not disagreeing. Her sudden job changes, her living situation with Jen. Then, my lawyer read a quote Kate sent to Jen. "I'm not trying to be a mom full-time. That's not who I am. I just need space to live before I feel stuck forever." Judge leaned back and asked her, "Do you deny sending this?" Kate froze for a second, then said, "No, but I didn't mean it like that." Then the judge turned to me, asked how I felt about co-parenting. I said, "I will always support my son's right to have a relationship with his mother, but I cannot trust someone who walked away from her family and hasn't shown she's capable of putting her child first." We took a short break, then came back for the final ruling. Judge looked over his notes and said, "Given the presented evidence, it is in the best interest of the child for the father to be granted full legal and physical custody." My ears rang for a second. Kate looked like the air had been sucked out of her. The judge added that supervised visitation could be arranged pending future review, but she'd have to submit a parenting plan and go through counseling first. Her lawyer tried to protest, saying it was punitive. Then my lawyer stood up and said, "Your Honor, not only do we have evidence of infidelity, abandonment, and inconsistent parenting, but the respondent also attempted to file a baseless cease and desist letter against my client after he requested a custody discussion. She claimed harassment, citing a single message where he asked to meet about co-parenting. The intent was clearly not legal protection. It was intimidation. It was an effort to silence him, disrupt communication, and skew documentation to appear as if he were the aggressor. He handed the court a copy of the cease and desist. "The consequences of such misuse," he continued, "aren't just legal, they're ethical. It speaks to the respondent's state of mind and willingness to manipulate the legal system. We are not asking for punishment. We're asking for protection, for clarity, and for the child's best interest to remain the priority." And that was that. The divorce was finalized an hour later. No alimony or property split. The house was mine. I'd been paying the whole mortgage solo. She didn't even argue. Just signed the papers like she was watching it all happen from outside her body. Then I walked away. Since then, she's been quiet. She sees our son for 2 hours, twice a month, at a supervised center with a court rep present. I never interfere. I don't even go in. I drop him off and pick him up like clockwork. She tries to be affectionate during visits, but he's confused. Doesn't cry when she leaves. Just say bye and goes back to watching cartoons in the car. I don't badmouth her. I never will. I tell him, "Mommy loves you." She just lives somewhere else. Weeks went by. It was just another quiet night. My son was passed out on the couch under a blanket. Then came the knock. I opened the door, and there she was. Kate. She looked like hell. Before I could speak, she blurted everything out. "I'm not staying at Jen's anymore." I just raised an eyebrow. She kicked me out. After everything she told me to do, how I should leave you, how I deserve more, how I needed to grow, she turned on me the second her new boyfriend started spending the night. She kept going, fast, almost like she was scared if she stopped. I'd close the door mid-sentence. She said I needed to pay rent or get out. Told me she didn't want Mark thinking she was hosting a loser with baggage. We had a huge fight. Screaming match. She said I cheated like a fool and ruined my own life, and that she didn't owe me anything. She was bitter and shaky. She's playing house now, making dinner every night, wearing dresses, obeying this guy like she's been a church wife all along. The same one who told me to run from being just a wife and mom is now baking bread for a man who yells when she talks too long. I said nothing, just leaned on the doorframe and waited. Kate looked me in the eye, breathing heavy, like her whole life was stuck in her throat. I messed everything up. I know that. I let Jen poison my head. I thought I was doing the right thing, I swear. But it was all garbage. I threw away my family. I walked out on the only man who ever actually loved me. And I did it for what? For compliments from a guy I don't even talk to anymore? For freedom that turned into sleeping on floors? She then said, crying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I blamed you. I'm sorry I cheated. I was selfish. I lost my mind. I miss our son. I miss this house. I miss being yours. Then I spoke. You cheated. You blamed me. You dragged me into court and tried to take our son after blowing up your own life. She opened her mouth to say something else. I don't care, I said. Please, she whispered. I have nothing. I looked her dead in the face. That's not my business. She looked past me and asked, Can I at least say goodnight to him? I said, You've got 2 hours, twice a month. Say goodnight then. Then I shut the door. These days, the house is finally quiet, and not the tense, walk-on-glass kind of quiet. My son laughs more. I sleep better. I don't have to explain why I'm tired or defend the fact that I work my ass off to keep a roof over our heads. All that empowerment talk, a lot of it's just repackaged selfishness. I need to grow. I need to find myself. I'm more than a mom or wife. That's fine until it becomes a free pass to cheat, disrespect, and abandon your family while painting yourself as the victim. If your growth means torching the people who built with you, you're not evolving. You're just stepping on their shoulders to feel tall. To any guy reading this, don't let modern pity feminism make you feel small for being a man who shows up, or say you're insecure because you don't want her texting friends who call you a downgrade. Sometimes starting over is the best thing you'll ever do. Not for revenge, just to breathe again. You don't need someone who needs to find themselves in another man's DMs. You need peace, purpose, and your damn self back. Let the rest take care of itself.